We are now 65 days away from Griz football's home opener here in Missoula. As questions swirl about the possibility of a season, our KPAX sports team took a deeper look into the financial impact Griz football has on this community.
As the MLB and NBA begin to reboot their seasons, the NFL and specifically the NCAA are looking for ways to secure a safe football season in the fall of 2020. However, with the rise of COVID-19 cases here in Montana and the possibility of no fans to feel the economic side of things, Griz football is still in the air. So what would be the economic impact if there wasn't a football season in Missoula? Our MTN sports team took a deeper look into the financial impact at the University of Montana and beyond. It's no secret that Griz football is the cash cow at the University of Montana.
Football generates about $5 million in ticket revenue alone each fall.
However, with COVID-19 on the rise again, the university currently has a plan to limit Washington Grizzly to around 18,000 fans per game, with students and season ticket holders prioritized.
Attendance, half attendance, you're probably in the $2 to $3 million range that you're off. And then the situation where there's a canceled fall, you obviously don't have a lot of expenses. We don't travel to Missouri State. We don't go down to northern Arizona, but you're in that $5 million range that you're going to lose.
However, as student athletes around the nation come back to campus, outbreaks have been common, and there's speculation that an NCAA season may not happen or happen without fans in the bleachers at all. While that may be a reality for the NFL and some Power 5 programs in college with lucrative TV contracts, it's a near impossible task for UM.
The worst case scenario from a budget standpoint is if we had a fall where we played football but couldn't have any fans in the stadium. So you have all the expenses associated with football, the travel, the cost to bring teams in non-conference games, but still have those expenses but not have any revenue to make up.
Martin says if the Griz went that route, they would be staring at a $6.5 to $7 million loss in revenue. Not only would that majorly affect the football program, but other athletic programs on campus as well, as the football team helps finance other sports. Big Sky Conference schools like Northern Colorado and Southern Utah have already cut their tennis programs. Well, we've seen what kind of financial impacts we could expect to see here at the University of Montana, but what about across the river in downtown Missoula? Our Kyle Hansen has more.
So now that we've seen what a lost season would do to Griz athletics, what about the community? It's no secret that Griz athletics brings a lot of money into Missoula's economy. So what would that mean for local businesses if the upcoming football season and more were eventually canceled? According to a study done by the Bureau of Business and Economic Research at Montana, which looked at the impact visitors from outside of Missoula added to the city's economy that otherwise wouldn't be there without football, about $2.53 million were brought in per home game. In terms of athletics as a whole, almost 1,400 permanent jobs are created, nearly $121 million in gross sales or output due to the presence of athletics comes in, and $52.8 million in income of all kinds to Missoula households, of which almost $45 million is after-tax income. Patrick Barkey, the director of Montana's Bureau of Business and Economic Research, who headed this study in 2016, said those are the numbers they found that only include those who visit Missoula and not those who already live in town, and that loss would be felt.
You know, I think the people who come to Griz games are more affluent than the typical visitor. They spend more money. They spend a little more time in Missoula than the typical visitor. Their loss to the economy would be significant.
Not to mention all of the other factors outside of visitors, such as athletes who come to UM and spend money in town, their families on visits, or coaches who are now full-time employees and use their money for local businesses. Merchandise, gas, lodging, and food are all important areas that would be hit if football and other sports were put on hold and visitors didn't come to town. Many places, like the Press Box, which dubs itself the home of the Griz, ride high in the fall when the Grizzlies are around.
It's our bread and butter. It's for the whole weekend. It starts out Friday, and it'll roll through Sunday morning into an NFL games, and it's great.
If UM football is a go and no fans are allowed in the stadium, would local restaurants and bars maybe even see a boom since more could flock there to watch on TV if guidelines allowed? Would fans gather outside of the stadium instead? That's tough to predict, but no fans could mean less visitors. And at the end of the day, fewer visitors coming into Missoula means less money added to the local economy. So now, Griz football, athletics as a whole, and local businesses wait with held breath as July begins and each season hangs in the balance.
You know, Rome wasn't built in a day, as they say, and it's going to be hard to come up with a brand new model for sports. to replace the one that we've been following for decades, if not a century, of people piling in the stadiums and cheering their hearts out for the team.
Reporting in Missoula, Jack Ginsburg and Kyle Hansen, MTN Sports.
So these next few weeks will be very important in relation to whether the NCAA season kicks off or not. We'll, of course, keep you updated.